I'm Malcolm Van Delst, and this is an excerpt from Do the Wrong Thing, a book series or extra long novel that opens with a woman trying to kill herself. She says, I don't know why I tried to do this, and by way of explanation, tells her life story. We are in book 2. Previously in Do the Wrong Thing, unbeknownst to Ava, she has started on the path to full-blown bulimia, discovers pot smoking as a cure for insecurity, and alienates the kids she works with at the Dardanelle day camp. I'll put my questions at the end. So this is the next chapter called A Few Men Things. A bright sunny day. Sitting on the steps to the side door at Aunt Ullie's, I look up at George Taylor, who stands over me, right foot on a step, arm leaning on the thin plastic molding of the railing attached to the house. I wear tight new jeans, a new crisp white shirt, and a long strand of tiny red Mexican beads wrapped 3 times around my neck. I've applied way more mascara than I normally do. George is Joey's best friend. He lives next door. He's home from private school for the summer. He looks me up and down and smiles. I shiver. My heart soars. Handsome, confident George has done so many drugs his parents sent him to boarding school to straighten him out. People buy bricks of pot there instead of grams, he's telling me. He says something about cars being brought to the school on trucks, and that's how they get the drugs into the school. It sounds far-fetched, but I don't question. He can get LSD, mushrooms, cocaine, even heroin, he says. Kids drive Porsches and BMWs. They have so much money. Everyone is high every day. In Dardanelle, the guys who do drugs have longish, if not quite girl-length hair. They're a bit dirty, their clothes unpressed. My cousin Joey is an exception. In comparison, he's a dandy, as is George. Maybe it's because of the private school, but George has short hair and wears polo shirts. He is so cool. I listen to George, holding his gaze without effort and managing to not blush. I pretend I'm not interested in what he's saying. I pretend he's not attractive, but inside my cells stand straight up. I am strong, cool. I imagine what it would be like to be his girlfriend. We'd walk down the street that meets this one, the one with big houses with big lawns, and the sun would be shining. We'd hold hands. I'd stride confidently with long, lean limbs, flicking a slick of straight yellow hair. Wait, my hair's curly. Again, this girl in my dream isn't me. Ivan and I spend time together at school, parties, and dances, always with groups of other people. We did go to that weird documentary he wanted to see in Arbor, just the 2 of us. It was a 16 millimeter, a small square in the middle of the screen with subtitles, even though the people spoke English. Maybe they were Irish, I don't remember. Their accents and slang made them sound like they spoke a different language. The images jumped all over the screen because the person who filmed it was right there with the band in the documentary, holding the camera in his hands. It was about the Clash, a band Ivan liked, following them on a tour. I'd heard of the band before, but no one in Dardanelle listens to them. The movie was transfixing. I'd never seen anything like it. But it wasn't much use in Dardanelle, as no one would be impressed. I wish it hadn't been Ivan I went to see it with. I'm in the family room at my Uncle Arno's in front of the fireplace. Ivan wanted to go to a dance, but since I had to babysit, I told him to come visit. I've never had anyone visit while I babysit before. I'm not sure I want Ivan to, but it's too late now. He's at the door. We mess around, kissing, all that. I get really excited. I disengage, push him away. Yeah, he's excited too. That's way more fun than going out, isn't it? I cringe as I hear the know-it-all, slightly throaty quality of my voice. What is wrong with me? As if I'm some kind of sex expert. Ivan doesn't notice, though. He's grinning, nodding dazedly. Another time, Ivan came into my parents' place after a dance when I still lived there. We messed around until he, came. Then he held a pillow over his crotch while he tried to back out of the house without me noticing. I pretended I didn't see. I don't understand why he was embarrassed. On the other hand, I wouldn't have wanted to talk about sex. Kissing and rubbing against each other is one thing, but discussing it? What if he'd asked me if I loved him? When I first hear, I can't believe it. My neighbor, Yvonne Carlson, has a new boyfriend. Like my brother Stanley, Yvonne is so shy she barely talks. She always smiles when she sees me. She's not mean or anything, just really, really shy. She's Sandra's age, though her and Sandra are not friends. Shadow, that ghost, ghoul, grim reaper in the flesh with the wild, messy hair standing out from his head and those round, pale blue eyes. So light they look unnatural, like an animal glaring at you with something beyond hatred. You can feel that cold, hard stare boring through space when he's far enough away that you can't even see that he's looking at you. That same gaze he had, the same gaze as the one he had years ago on that day he worked briefly for my dad. There's a foreign country with customs and a language I don't understand all around me. How can girls like happy, outgoing Debbie and now my neighbor Yvonne date this animal? I tell Ivan that long distance relationships don't work. He's going to Fitzgerald University, about 2 hours from Dardanelle and 3 from Birmington, where I'm going. Next chapter, breaking. It's a sullen 5-hour trip. I should be thankful to my parents for driving me to Birmington, but I know what's going on. My mother's desperation to get away from the farm knows no bounds. She can't stop me from going to school, but she can use me for an excursion and a talking point with her friends and sisters. She knows that most people don't think that a girl going to university is wrong. That point of view is reserved for her children and husband, or for her desire to study accounting. Since she's lost that battle with me, she'll use what she can to get off the farm, even for a couple days. Then she'll talk about her trip as if nothing happened, grateful to have a story to share. I'm weak, of course. I want her approval. I want her love. I want to see my dad, my brothers and sister. At Birmington U, Mom, Dad, and I lug my bags into my new room in the basement of a 4-story residence. I wonder if my parents noticed the grand ivy-covered buildings as we drove in, and if they are as impressed as I am. My building, Macklin Hall, is not grand or ivy-covered. Yellow, brick, square and squat, located down a hill. In my room, there's a wide window that starts about 3 feet up from a cold floor. The bottom of the window is flush with the lawn outside. Past the lawn is a wall of trees, a nice view, if you ignore how we're located underground. The room itself is what you might expect. Tile floor, 2 single, nondescript beds, 2 brownish desks with 2 built-in closets that match the desks, a faint smell of moldy oranges. I take the bed near the window, unpack a few things while my parents inspect the rest of the floor. We should have lunch before it gets too late, Mom says from the door when they return. They will drive to my aunt and uncle's farm afterwards, about an hour away, where they'll stay overnight before driving back to Dardanelle tomorrow. Late afternoon in an empty, gloomy Birmington pub, Mom chatters away while Dad and I stare at our plates, the walls, the air. None of us look at each other. Then I'm alone in a mostly empty residence, furthest I have ever been from home.